We'd like to welcome everyone out to this afternoon's Planning and Zoning meeting. Sorry we're started a little late, but we needed to go through the study session today. We have remind you all about your cell phones to please put them on vibrate or mute or airplane mode, whichever you would like to do, because terrible things happen to cell phones that go off in the meeting. I'd like a collection. We'd like for you all to watch a short video about how things are run here. And again, like to remind everyone that if you wish to speak to any particular case, please write on one of the blue cards provided by the entries and bring it up to staff pretty fast, because we'll be voting on the consent agenda shortly after this video. Please run the video.
Welcome to the City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the future development of our community and welcome your comments. At this time, we ask you to turn off or select the vibrate option on your cell phones and pagers. Today's agenda includes a consent agenda. These items will be read into the record and acted on in one motion. If you would like to speak on any of these items, please fill out one of the blue cards located in the back of the room and bring it to the front railing. These items will then be removed from the consent agenda and voted on individually. Each case will be heard first by the applicant, then the public, followed by city staff and board members. The Planning and Zoning Board will then make their recommendations to the City Council. The City Council meetings are held twice a month at 5:45 p.m. in the Council chambers. To find out when the City Council will consider your planning and zoning item, please call the Planning Division at 480-644-2385 or log on to the City's website. All planning and zoning meetings are broadcast live and rebroadcast on Mesa Channel 11. To view the programming schedule, log on to www.mesachannel11.com.
All right, our first item of business is to consider the minutes from the May 14th and May 15th meetings. Mr. Arnett was not available last month, and so we are postponing the voting on the minutes until the next P&Z meeting on July 10th. I believe our next item is not on your agenda, but Mr. Wesley would like to make a short statement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for our applicants and citizens that are here today and those who may be participating, I just want to take a moment and kind of review a little bit the history of the last 36 hours since we had our study session yesterday morning. Our board members are active members of the community, have their busy lives, and based on a number of things that have come up for a number of our board members, it appeared yesterday morning when we had our study session that we would not be able to have our meeting today, and therefore at that time yesterday morning made a determination to cancel this meeting. Right after that, we were able, though, to put pieces back together and get enough members together for a quorum this afternoon, and so we're able to go ahead and hold this meeting today, which we're glad to do because we know a number of you have projects that need to move on rather quickly. That did cause some problem, though, for a couple of cases, particularly the one on South Country Club Road, where because we didn't hold the public hearing yesterday morning for the minor general plan amendment, that whole case had to go ahead and be continued to next month. That was, again, based on the board's things going on here, nothing at all to do with the applicant or with any of these things. It's all been on our side of things. All the applicants have done what they need to do to move their projects along. So we want to apologize for that confusion and the difficulties any of this has caused for you, but we're doing what we can to get all the cases that are on tonight's agenda resolved as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wesley. Our first item of business is the consent agenda, and our lovely Beth Coombs has gotten the opportunity again to read the consent agenda.
And I'm very happy to do it. We have a lengthy consent agenda tonight, so bear with me. The first item on consent will be C1 KZ 13-32 in District 6. It's the 10,000 to 10,800 blocks of Ray Road and the 5,200 to 6,000 blocks of Signal Butte Road. And the 10,100 to 10,800 blocks of Williamsfield Road and the 5,200 to 5,600 block of Chrisman Road, approximately 550 acres, formerly known as the Mesa Proving Grounds. Now this will be approval of development units plans 8 and 9 at Eastmark Community. and the staff recommendation is approval with conditions. We will skip to item D2, Z13-24 in District 5. This is north of 3142 North 90th Street on the west side, 8900 block of East Plymouth on the north side, located within the area bound by Quinton on the north, Plymouth on the south, the 88th Street alignment on the west, and 90th Street on the east. This is approximately 11.07 acres. It'll be a rezone from Maricopa County R1-35 to the City of Mesa RS-35. The staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item D3, Z13-25 in District 2. This is 6521 East University Drive, located south and east of 65th Street and University, 1.85 acres. It's a rezone from Maricopa County R-3 to the City of Mesa RM-3, and the staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item D4 is Z13-26 in District 5, and these are 10,002, 10,018, 10,036, and 10,052 East Broadway Road, located north and east of Broadway Road and Chrisman Road, approximately 2.89 acres. This is a rezone from Maricopa County R-2 to the City of Mesa RM-2. Staff recommendation, approval with conditions. Next is D5, Z13-27 in District 5, 9651 East Brown Road, located south and west of Brown Road and Chrisman Road, approximately 1.25 acres. It's a rezone from Maricopa County RU-43 to the City of Mesa RS-43. Staff recommendation, approval with conditions. Next case is D6, Z13-28. This is the 10,100 block of East Boise Street, located east of Chrisman Road, south of University Drive, approximately 1 acre. And this is a rezone from Maricopa County R1-8 to City of Mesa RS-7. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Next case is D8, Z13-31 in District 4, 1,014, 1,015, 1,029, and 1,042 South Lewis, and 1,014 and 1,022 South Serine, located on the south side of 10th Avenue, west of Serine, and east and west of Lewis, approximately 4.4 acres. This is a rezone from light industrial and, LI and GI to GI-PAD and site plan review. And the staff recommendation is continuance to the July 10th, 2013 meeting. On the next page, this is item D9, case Z13-33, the 8,700 to 8,800 blocks of East Upper Canyon Drive. I believe this is in Mountain Bridge, located north of McKellips Road and east of Hawes Road, approximately 21.44 acres. This request will allow the development of a single residence subdivision. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. We go on to item E1. It's a GP minor 13-03. It is 10,800 to 10,900 blocks of East Broadway Road and 400 to 500 blocks of South Signal Butte Road, approximately 13.03 acres. This is a minor general plan amendment to adjust the boundaries of the existing Mesa 2025 general planned land use designation from medium density residential to, medium density residential 4 through 6 units per acre. Is that how I say that? MDR-4-6. This request will allow future residential development of a lower density on the site. Staff recommendation is a continuance to July 10th, 2013. Item E2 is Z13-29, 10,800 to 10,900 blocks of East Broadway Road and the 400 to 500 blocks of South Signal Butte, located south of Broadway and east of Signal Butte, 13.03 acres, a rezone from LC-PAD and RS-6-PAD to RS-6 PAD and site plan review. This request will allow development of a single residence subdivision. Staff recommendation is continuance to July 10th, 2013. Item E3 is a GP minor 13-04, 2200 to 2300 blocks of South Country Club Drive, located south of Baseline on the west side of Country Club, approximately 24.35 acres in District 3. It's a minor general plan amendment to adjust the boundaries of the existing Mesa 2025 general plan land use designation from business park to high-density residential. This request will allow multi-residence development on the site, and we are continuing this to the study session July 9th and the regular meeting of July 10th. And the companion case to that is item E4, Z13-30, at the same location, 2200 to 2300 blocks of South Country Club Drive on the west side. And this request will allow the development of a multi-residence project. The staff recommendation is continued to the study session July 9th and the regular meeting of July 10th. The next group, G2, preliminary plat of the club at Eastmark, development units 8 and 9. This is in District 6, the 10,000 to 10,800 blocks of Ray Road, the 5,200 to 6,000 blocks of Signal Butte on the west, 10,100 to 10,800 blocks of Williamsfield on the north, and the 5,200 to 5,600 block of Chrisman Road on the east, approximately 550 acres. This request will allow residential development. The preliminary plat at Vitalia at Eastmark in District 6, the 10,000 to 10,800 blocks of Ray Road on the south, the 5,200 to 6,000 blocks of Signal Butte on the west, the 10,100 to 10,800 blocks of Williamsfield Road on the north, and the 5,200 to 5,600 block of Chrisman on the east side, approximately 550 acres. This will allow residential development. Item G4, preliminary plat of parcel 4A at Mountain Bridge in District 5, the 8,700 to 8,800 blocks of East Upper Canyon Drive on the north, located north of McKellips Road, east of Hawes, approximately 21.44 acres. This request will allow the development of a single residence subdivision. And item G5 is a replat of lot 15A of Falcon Commerce Park, 1722 North Banning condominium, south of McDowell and west of Higley, approximately 1 acre. This will create commercial condominiums. And that is the end of our consent agenda.
I'm surprised you still have all the lights. All right. Thank you, Ms. Coombs. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval of the consent agenda as read.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Please cast your votes. It's unanimous for those that are here at the meeting. I neglected to state that Ms. Hudson, Ms. Johnson, and Mr. DeBella are not here today. They are on businesses. And Ms. Johnson has had a death in her family. She's not here for that reason. So, all right, passes unanimously. If you're one of those cases that's here, you're welcome to leave, or you can stay and watch the show. All right, our first item of business after that will be case number D1, which is Z13-08, the 7,100 and 7,200 blocks of East McDowell Road, north side, the infamous parcel 51 of the Las Sendas PAD. If staff would give us a short statement on this, and then we would like to ask for the public, and then Reese, we'd like you to follow up after that. Please.
Thank you, Chairman Carter and board members. I couldn't have introduced the project better myself. It has been introduced before this board a few times, February, March, and April. Each time continued. This last continuance was for 60 days so that Ryland Homes, the prospective owner and developer, as represented by Reese Anderson with Pew & Lake, and the design group is also here with EPS Group, who've done all of the beautiful exhibits. They've taken 60 days to work with the public, in particular the Los Angeles HOA and their Architecture Review Committee. And I think the testament to that is that we have one blue card today to show the results of their design charrettes and their public outreach. So parcel 51, a brief introduction, 23 acres on the north side of McDowell Road, east of the Santan 202. Within Los Angeles PD, it's south of Red Mountain and west of Ridgecrest. The proposal is to amend the prior approval, which was back in 2008, Z0774, where 180 condominium units had been approved for this property as part of an overall mixed-use walking village project known as Parcel 51. The proposal is to keep the same underlying RM2 PAD zoning, simply to amend the site plan, establish development standards for the now single residence lot development, and also you'll see attached conceptual building elevations for the homes. Those particular home elevations were the result of the design charrette and so desired by the community that surrounds it. You'll see underneath neighborhood participation, there was extensive participation. They've completed their plan and their report. You'll see some notations in regards to the development agreement. The project is in conformance with the rules of that development agreement. It does conform with the general plan. Couple outstanding items that the public has expressed interest in are the concerns of capacity at Los Angeles Elementary School, which is nearby the project. The Mesa Public School District has confirmed capacity at that school, as well as the junior and high schools that this project would be in their district. At this time, staff is recommending approval of the project. You'll see that the home elevations are now 1 and 2 story, addressing concerns of building height, massing, and number of stories. The project's been thoughtfully laid out with a street network very similar to the original approval, and we find that the amenity package is better than average, that's for sure, with 2 pools, a tot lot, passive open space, as well as open space corridors that are in keeping with the theme of Los Angeles, with the desert-inspired corridors, or otherwise known as paseos. And all of the homes now front on open space. They're accessed in the rear off of the street network. And the number of units is 145, as has been consistent through their application process the last several months. I think, lastly, staff would just like to express their thanks to the commitment of the neighbors. We've received over 200 emails on the project, 70 voicemails, and the number of meetings that have been held and attended by the neighbors to give their input has been amazing. And so here we are today with a recommendation of approval, and no one's here except for the HOA to speak on behalf of the project. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Board members, any questions for staff at this point? Right, it is nice when things work together. We have one blue card from a Mr. Jeff Brugos. If he could come forward at this time, state your name and address, and you are in support for the project.
Chairman Carter and board members, my name is Jeff Brugos. I live at 4164 North Diamond Point, Mesa, Arizona. Good afternoon. I am the president of Los Angeles Home Association, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the board and want to quickly address 4 points. The first one is the importance of Parcel 51 to our association. We have 3 residential communities that border the proposed development, plus we have 2 parks with multiple amenities within a short distance that are funded and for the exclusive use of our members. Although the homeowners in immediate proximity may be the most directly impacted, the entire Los Angeles community may be affected as well. We have 2 entrances into the community. The southern entrance off of McDowell onto Ridgecrest is at the corner of where the planned residential development is located. When one turns into that entrance, what you see are 2 monuments and 2 signs that say, Los Angeles. So you certainly have the impression that you are entering Los Angeles at that time. The residential development will form that impression, I think, those entering and passing by. Therefore, we believe it's essential that any proposed residential development be compatible with the overall quality and style of Los Angeles as well as the desert uplands. Second point is the results of the design charrette with Ryland Homes that Jason mentioned. After the extension, Ryland Homes invited our association to participate in a design charrette. The purpose of it was to come up with a mutual agreeable site plan for the development. The charrette included 8 of our experienced members as well as 2 of our professional managers. We suggested multiple modifications to the site plan, and Ryland Homes accepted the modifications and incorporated them into the plan that you have in front of you today. The Los Angeles members of the design charrette will be advising our board that the proposed site plan is acceptable. However, we have not yet received a proposal for exterior elevations and architectural details to review. We believe that these will be critical to ensure the compatibility with the rest of Los Angeles. Ryland Homes has agreed to work with our architectural review committee to ensure that the elevations and landscaping meet the standards within our community. If the city formally reviews the proposed residential elevations, we would like our views to be included as well. Third point, feedback from our association members. The association held a town meeting about 2 months ago to review and comment on the previous Ryland Homes plan. And we had a number of people, 125 attended. There were a lot of concerns expressed on that plan. The site plan before you today addresses most of our members' previously stated concerns via the design charrette that we had with Ryland Homes. 2 weeks ago, Ryland Homes sponsored a neighborhood meeting and with our members, and the members' feedbacks on that was very positive. There are still some homeowners' concerns related to school overcrowding and increased traffic congestion, as Jason mentioned. We understand these may be outside of your scope. However, we believe they still should be addressed. The final point is on the status of the annexation request. Our board is considering a formal annexation request from Ryland Homes. The board has not yet decided whether to annex. Our annexation decision will occur after the City Council makes a decision on Ryland Homes' proposal, July 8th, we believe, and we complete our due diligence. So just in summary, it is most important to our association that the quality and style of the proposed residential development are compatible with the surrounding Los Angeles community, which many consider to be the crown jewel of Mesa. The conceptual site plan before you is acceptable to our design charrette members and appears to have addressed most of the homeowners' previous concerns. However, a review of elevations and design details still remain. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Brugos. Do board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Brugos? No. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
There are copies of this, if you haven't got it already.
We did have copies.
Okay, good.
Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon, board members. For your record, my name is Reese Anderson. My address is 1744 South Alvista, number 217 in Mesa. And with me this afternoon is Reed Porter from Ryland Homes, Jackie Guthrie and Brian Kitchen from EPS Group, and all of us are available to answer any questions that you have. I'd also like to thank the board members for making themselves available today and rearranging schedules. It's certainly appreciated as this project's on a tight time frame. I appreciate staff's description of the project. I do not want to go, I'm prepared to give you as much detail as you want, but based on the statement you heard from Mr. Brugos and the HOA, you know of the efforts we've done. This is a great project. This is one where we're proud to stand up and say, together we did it. Was it worth the effort? Yes. And the results are in front of you with this project here. This balances of all the various interests you could hear, and there are a lot of various, we've balanced them. And Reed Porter and Ryland have done a fantastic job of making it all work. I'm just proud to be proud of it, and I want to thank also Mr. Brugos and the members of Design Charrette. Very constructive process that we went through here. Have I said enough praise? I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, Mr. Chairman, and address any issue. We're prepared on whatever you got.
Board members, anything?
I think maybe my only comment or question is, and maybe for the association, but there were a number of people that were here, 60 days ago in opposition. And obviously you've spoken to working together. Are we completely satisfied that all of those individuals that were in opposition, that they have been notified, that they're okay with it, or in other words, they're yielding their voice back to the association? Are we confident of that?
Answering for myself, Board Member Arnett, yes. Let me tell you why I know that. One, we met with the Design Charrette Committee. There are many the members on that. They report back to their various constituents. And what I learned is many of them have their own email distribution groups that exist within Los Andes. Also, when we mailed out our final site plan with our notice letter of this meeting, we extended that notification radius greatly. And we included anybody that had been to any of our previous meetings. On top of that, we know that Mr. Doug Austin, who's here in the audience tonight, and he's the community manager, his staff emails our letter and map, site plan, our whole package to the entire community. I think they have approximately a 2,500 member email distribution list that goes out. And so I'm confident. Let me just tell you about our last neighborhood meeting. When we finished that meeting, of the residents that were there, it was one of the few times I can remember in my career we received an applause. And just a little anecdotal evidence.
It's time to retire.
You achieved the pinnacle of your career.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if there's no questions, staff, any follow-up?
Thank you, Chairman Carter. Just briefly, the housing product will be required to go through design review, probably a work session with the design review board, ultimately approval by staff. It's also required by the development agreement.
We had elevations of the product in our packets. Apparently, the Homeowners Association did not get those, or have they been part of it?
I can answer the question, Mr. Carter. We have shown them elevations, and in fact, those elevations are in your packet, but they're just preliminary. So let me just get to them real quick so you can see them. And what Mr. Brugos is saying and what we've committed to, of course, is that we will be back. We know we're going to go to the Design Review Board and get their input. We know we're going to be with the Architectural Review Committee. So these are conceptual in nature. In my meetings with them, they've been well received, but of course they want to look at them in detail, which I don't blame them. That's the right way to go. It's the fair thing to do. It's what we're going to do. But these were the elevations we've worked with and shown in our meetings with the architect or with the Design Charrette Committee. And those are the same ones in your staff report. Just out of my curiosity, it's gone through quite a evolution from the beginning to now. And in regard to the traffic and the school situation, what are the demographics that Ryland Home has of people that will be living in this area? We really think the demographics, and they're stated there in your staff report. I don't remember page 2 or 3, but it's empty nesters, young professionals, and young families. If you think back to the original 180 condominiums, 25% of those units were single floor or the first floor units, perfect for an empty nester or, say, an elderly couple doesn't want stairs. We have about that same ratio here with our units, so we fit right in with that category. And being right next to the commercial, we think we'll get a lot of young professionals there too, and then young families who want to be part of Los Andes, one of the crown jewels of our community. All right.
I think we should note that item G1 is the companion case to this, and I know we'll vote separately, but if there's questions, we should also look at that.
Let me just add, Mr. Chairman, we've read the conditions of approval. We're in full agreement with them, and we urge your support. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the preliminary plat that was? Because I'd like to combine both of these in the same motion. I think we can do that.
Can we?
You could just read the both, just like a consent agenda.
Okay, so is there a motion on the floor?
I'll move for approval of item D1 and item G1. Do I need to read more than that?
Well, Z18-08 And come on, G1.
G1, and it's the preliminary plat.
Right, the first
But
one.
this is at the 7,100 and 7,200 blocks of East McDowell Road on the north side, parcel 51 of Los Sendas, located east of Power Road on the north side of McDowell, approximately 22.73 acres.
Second.
All right, so is there a motion?
That was my motion.
That was your motion. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Brad,
Mr. Arnett.
okay, let's vote, please. Passes unanimously. We can't wait to see that constructed. Our last item of business will be case number Z13-19, which is District 6, 7013 East Warner Road, located on the south side of Warner Road, just east of Power Road, approximately 1.56 acres. The request is rezoned from AGAF to Limited Industrial-AF and site plan review. Okay, staff, if you could give us a short discussion on this, and then we would ask the for any public, which are, unless you're Mr. Zimmerman, okay, well then we'll have you come up after staff gives their synopsis of this.
Mr. Chairman and member of the board, as you said, this is Z13-19. It's located at 7013 East Warner Road. It's a rezoning case. Currently, it's ag with an airfield overlay, and the request is for a limited industrial airfield overlay. It's a request to build a RV storage facility, RV or boat storage facility, roughly for 70, and it's approximately 1.5 acres. The proposed land use definitely, I won't go to the detail, proposed land use definitely does not comply with the current general plan and the recently adopted Mesa Gateway Strategic Development Plan, and also the site plan development standards that are proposed. So for all that reasons, staff is not supporting, and let's hear from the applicant.
Staff is recommending denial on this case.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Zimmerman, if you would please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Doug Zimmerman, 10935 East Cosmos Circle in Scottsdale. Why I've asked to speak and thank you. This is a 1.5 acre parcel sitting on Warner Road. The sole purpose of what we're trying to do is not to develop something for the permanent future. We're talking about trying to get some kind of a use of the property to help support payment of the real property taxes and hopefully generate some rental income and taxation income to the city. This property is vacant. What we propose to do with this is just a simple RV parking. There's no buildings, there's no anything of that sort. It is very clear that this is not the future use of this property. I note that staff has said that the Mesa Gateway area will develop not in a period of years, but rather decades. This property has been vacant. We're just trying to put it to a use to generate some income for the tax base and for income to the city. We have agreed to comply with all of the conditions of the staff that has been put forth. One of the things that I wanted to point out, the staff has asked that it said on the last part of what was presented to you, the site plan submitted has insufficient information. Staff is willing to consider a more detailed site plan, and then they went on and listed all of the things it said. There was an RV park just south south of this site on Galveston. There's an RV park right across the street in the industrial park. None of the things the staff is asking us to do was done there, and those two. And what we're proposing here is just to be fair. All of the proposed things that need to be done to the site according to those things listed there would economically destroy the project. And nobody else who had 2 RV parks right in the area had to do that. I have photographs that I have taken of both of those parks, and they're not done. The other thing is, there was one thing that's just kind of a technical thing. The staff recommended or asked that there be a turnaround area on Warner Road. I'm not sure if staff went out there. Right where we are, the city of Mesa has put up large barricades, because if you come barreling east on Warner Road, there's a canal there now, and it doesn't cross. So I defer to the city of Mesa's people who say basically those barricades are there for a purpose. In fact, if anyway, I have a picture of it, but the barricades are basically right at a point where the only access to our site would be right where the barricades are. We don't believe that it should be our responsibility to put a turnaround on Warner Road. It's not related to this project, plus there's serious safety concerns that we raise. The other thing that I wanted to say is this is a temporary use. There will be a time when we're going to combine this property with the surrounding property that Mr. Massey owns, or some other people will come in and buy the properties together and develop them. There will be site plans, and this will be all gone. But it's just a temporary thing. I think staff has told you that, and we're just asking for some help in trying to figure out how can we use this property for the least intensive use in terms of buildings or anything of the sort. We understand that this is on Warner Road, and we agree to the decorative wall and the landscaping and the dedication of the right-of-way and all of the things of that nature, because we want, even if it's an RV park, we want it to look good as you drive down Warner Road, and it will always be that way. And it will not be that way whenever it is developed to another use. So I would ask for your consideration and recognize this is a 1.5 acre parcel. It's hard to find anything you can economically develop that meets the standards of what staff is looking for. Is it consistent with the general plan? I am certain that in the future this whole area is going to be much more intensely developed for commercial, retail, industrial, employment, certainly not residential because we're right under the flight path. But those kind of things we will integrate into with this property. But we're only asking your consideration as the opportunity to do something to generate some income to pay the taxes and hopefully generate some revenue that might come back in rental taxes to the city. Thank you very much.
Board members, are there any questions for our applicant?
I have one. You don't own the property around that yet, or do you have an agreement, or what's the situation there?
Thank you for the question. The 1.5 acres sits right at the corner on Warner Road, right next to the canal. Mr. Massey owns the property all the way around it, and we know Mr. Massey, and I was going to get a letter from him, but I didn't do it for today. But he's not fighting us on this thing and supports what we're doing, because I'm hoping that it seems to us that we're in that corner, that this property will work well when he develops his, and I don't know when he is going to do that or what he's going to do, but the surrounding property was probably going to be acquired at some time for a development, because things seem to be moving in that area.
Mr. Clement?
Yes, Mr. Sim, I'm sorry. I was thinking when you just said it, did you meant, are you acquiring, or is there an operating agreement that you've entered?
No, we don't have. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't answer the question. We have no agreement with Mr. Massey that we will be part of his project.
So are you acquiring the parcel then?
No, we're not acquiring his property. We're just 1.5 acres.
So actually you're speaking for the owner. This is the owner that's choosing to do that.
He is the owner.
You are the owner.
I'm half owner.
You're half. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes, and so we just own the 1.5 acres, but I look around out there to that
I'm sure
property
you
with
said that.
Mr. Massey.
I was thinking of something else when you spoke, and that's why.
I'm sorry I confused.
And a question I have then is, I understand this concept of a temporary use, and there will be an alternative use that will come along. And I do know, I agree, it's right at the end, it's right there barricaded by the canal. I mean, it's just going to sit there like that. Well, this is where I'm still a little confused between you, Mr. Zimmerman, and also staff. And that is have you offered to do anything other than just give a dedication? I mean, the idea of some basic screen wall, have you even come to the table to work a compromise?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh,
You
yes.
have? Okay.
I'm not certain what you have in your package, but in your package, if you're at the plans, we have the decorative wall all along the front.
Okay.
The decorative wall. There is a requirement for the dedication and the landscaping from the wall all the way out, including the dedicated area. All of that is landscaped. There was once, and I'm not sure I see it anymore, a requirement of a decorative wall along the canal, and I'm not sure the relationship with this project and that. But in terms of sewer and water, all of the things that were laid out by the preliminary plan review team, utility improvements, street improvements. Now, we understand that's all necessary and required, and we would do that. It's the other things.
Could you, for my benefit anyway, could you elaborate on what you think is excessive then?
Yes.
In terms of what the city's asking is inappropriate as a temporary use?
Clearly dimension the RV spaces, circulation lanes, backup spaces. Circulation lanes are in the plan. We have that. They're specifically designed and measured for all of the fire truck access for the fire codes. Backup spaces, we're just parking. The backup spaces, when you park the RV, you back up into the driveway. I mean, this isn't an active thing. You park once and you park for a month or so and then you remove it once. Striping, paving of main circulation lanes in asphalt, dust-proof ground cover of parking spaces, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. Building and landscape setbacks. Setback, there is no setback on any of those other RV parks. To have a setback that the city last talked to me about was 20 feet. And that 20 feet needs to be landscaped. Now these are RV vehicles that are parked there. I think there's a little bit of concern with landscaping and some fire danger for inactive use of a property for people just parking RVs. But the 20-foot setback on an acre and a half takes up a significant part of the property, significantly reduces the storage, plus the landscaping. I don't mean to be flip or silly, but what for? There's nobody in there. There's nothing that will be seen but those who pull in their RVs to park them. And then we talked about screening requirements. If the screening requirements they're talking about are the screening requirements for the facing on Warner Road, we understand that's fine. You need to make it look well and look good as you go along. So that's really what we're addressing there, those extra requirements.
You talked about a turnaround cul-de-sac. Is this where they want?
Yeah, it'll be right in this area for fire truck and emergency vehicle turnaround. Right now, they can't do that in that area.
No.
They would have to back up all the way down.
That's what I was trying to understand.
So with the requirements and given the size of the site, it just appears just to be an infeasible project
For the small.
for the size.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, Mr. Zimmerman, so the real issues I see, it will be the lanes, the setback, the landscaping. It's because you're diminishing your usable area, and then economic doesn't make. Is that really what you're saying?
Yeah, economically.
Of all those items,
Even with, we know how tough it will be even to make this go, but we're here asking for permission to do it.
what do you see to be the life of this project? Decades?
Well, I sure hope not. We certainly hope not. When you look at that area out there, there seems to be a lot of activity. Where you have the industrial park just to the north of this, of Warner Road there. There seems to be a lot of activity going on. I think a lot of activity is going on this parcel, and the parcel of Mr. Massey is going to be dictated by how rapidly things are going on the I still call it Williams property from being old school. I think that probably we're talking about, would be nice if 4 to 5 years from now would be the outside time that someone would come in and who comes in to purchase the property. We'd like to be purchased along with Mr. Massey, or independently. Seems that we could integrate into the larger parcel. That makes sense to us. And whoever does that will have a very large master plan development there, I'm sure. I think he has 50 acres is my recall, that's 50 acres around there.
Yeah, my other thought on this, too, in support of where you're coming from, I just know that's the way these little parcels work. They're infills, they get the right zoning, you can do this, a bigger use, better use comes along, and then they just go away. At the same time, then we've got, safety issues that have to be addressed, and then I would go back to the city. Is that really what the issue here? I could see, a screen wall along the canal. Why? Why don't we just put something inexpensive?
I misunderstood maybe an earlier question. Is there a safety issue that I'm not addressing?
I don't.
There is an issue. The engineering department, I'm sure, is the one that's generating the cul-de-sac request at the end of Warner for their turnaround requirements for fire trucks and emergency vehicles. Right now, they would have to back out of Warner Road. I'm trying to think of how far they'd have to back, and that is not acceptable to them at all. They have to be able to at least have a hammerhead or a cul-de-sac down there in order to site their vehicles if you were to have a fire or an emergency in your facility. Staff, Wahid, hang on just a minute. I do not feel comfortable myself with the site plan, per the things that you've risen, okay? We have an ordinance that requires a certain amount of landscaping setbacks so it's compatible with neighborhoods. But is there a mechanism, perhaps the Board of Adjustment, where he can go and see if they would go along with some of these adjustments in landscape setbacks and other issues on this piece of property?
Okay.
Can I piggyback that and also address the issues with the other sites close by, and do they have the same setback requirements, and speak a little bit to the applicant's claim about,
Right.
fairness, etc.
Right. Let me say, I recognize and I appreciate. I worked with Mr. Zimmerman almost like what we gave some comments, and then he left us, and then he just showed up one day and said, put it on the schedule. So I said, okay, for after a year, you just came. And I understand it's a small lot and all that. That's the reason we're saying is we understand it's a request in interim, it's not permanent. As far as the context, like there is the development is called like Gateway Norte. That's just north of the Warner, and at the northeast corner of Power and Warner, you have like a gas stations and a couple of industrial building and RV storage built there. It's a nice development. It's not done yet, as Mr. Zimmerman was saying. It takes a long time over there to get developed, but that's an example of very nice development. In fact, Trudy Lacano, I think from that development, she contacted us and kind of said she doesn't support because it is not that same standard. The other two examples Mrs. Zimmerman said is, one I can say exactly because I worked on that, the Galveston and Power Road behind the gas station. Ultimately, they did not build it. I think city bought it for retention or park, something like that. It is along the canal. It's east of Power Road behind the existing Circle K or QT gas station. Over there, all those standards that we talked about ultimately was approved for that. Means you at least give us the asphalt circulation inside. The fire wants it, so others wants it. We also want it because that's the area you'll be driving. We understand the park space that can be DG with all the treatment. We obviously want screen walls because the plans submitted here has chain link fence to the south and to the west. Only the Warner Road and the canal is a decorative wall. In that project, that canal wall was approved with a bunch of design motives also, Southwestern, to make the residents who is walking along the trail canal kind of enjoy it. And landscaping also outside the wall along the canal, things like that. So yeah, it's not kind of unfair business. It is all what's in the book. But to answer the other thing is, where is the scope for some kind of a waiver or negotiation? I think that we can come back maybe in future with this proposal being a PAD. So since it's small, we can ask for a PAD. But before I agree personally to do that, I would ask Mr. Zimmerman to really use some professional help to get these plans developed, because it is really pulling teeth to get the exhibits at a professional level, to send it to the engineers or for ourselves to review. I don't have anything other than these two exhibits.
Well, I was knowing that this is not sealed. We have no grading and drainage plans. We have a schematic landscape plan, but again, not sealed by a registered professional. So my question, Wahid, is why did this even make it in our packets? It's not following state statute right now.
Mr. Chairman, let me add to a little bit of what Mr. Alam was describing and answer that question. Sealed drawings are required for Design Review Board. They're not required for the Planning and Zoning Board. It's still often early enough in that process to where they're still developing those plans.
Why are they not required for Planning and Zoning, John? They should be.
That can be a discussion for another day, but they're not required for this board.
Where does it say it's not required? You don't have to answer right now in the middle, but before I leave, could you tell me where it is?
We understand what Mr. Zimmerman's talking about this particular piece. It is early in the development process out here, and use such as this could evolve over time. And so, maybe there's a desire to not put as much into it up front if it's going to change over time. And things do change, but a lot of times they don't change too. Mm-hmm. And it can take a long time for those changes to occur. We do have a high quality development going on across the street. So we're trying to find that balance between those and meet the overall guidelines for the Gateway area. Right now, staff's review and analysis based on the information we have in front of us, we feel like they're not meeting those standards that have been set for the area, even for something that we think is going to be temporary. If Mr. Zimmerman's willing to work with us some more on that, we'd be glad to work with him some more and see if we can't get it closer. There are a couple of options in terms of a BIZ or PAD or potentially the Board of Adjustment, given the agricultural nature of the surrounding property, and that could in the future is likely going to be industrial in the future, which would change some of those setbacks. The Board of Adjustment's been willing to consider modifications to those standards in terms of variances in those types of cases. So he does have some options, and we could continue to explore those if the board would like to maybe do a continuance of this, if he's willing, again, to work on some of those modifications that we think are still needed if the board supports those.
Go ahead, Beth.
Is there a reason to put a cul-de-sac at the end of Warner Road at the canal for the land north of there, or will that all internally be You see what I'm saying? Is there really ever a reason to have a cul-de-sac there?
Not for the north.
But what about, okay, then the south, what he's saying is you could have two entrances on Power Road if it ever came to this. What we don't know is how that will ever
No, we
come
don't.
together.
And neither does the city, and that's, I'm sure, why engineering is stating that they want an emergency vehicle cul-de-sac at the end.
I get it.
The subdivision would be taking care of itself on its street structure that it's got in there, but the Warner Road, there's no way for them to really move around as required by their ordinance. Have we finished our discussion?
Well, would the applicant like some time to respond to?
Yes, if I may. I have photographs of those barriers, and I'm still not clear about fire trucks. Fire trucks come to this site, and they can pull in, and the fire trucks can go around. It's a circular. To the north is a street. I don't know of any fire truck backing out of anywhere. The barricades are there to keep people from moving beyond that toward the canal. And these barricades are right at our gate. They're right at the gate. And now that was one of the things saying, because of 1.5 acres is being developed, we have to put in a turnaround cul-de-sac because of one development. We're not causing anything to cause that to be turnaround.
The issue is, this is a standard of the city of Mesa. We do not have the right to waive that standard. We are only an advisory board for land use issues. So if you want to go, the way to go would be for us to vote on denial and then go to city council and take up those issues with city council, because they are the ones that can actually make decisions on that.
I understand and I appreciate that. I'm just trying to clarify. The other thing I do want to respond to, first of all, the set of plans that we've been asked to provide plans on 2 occasions. The plans that we did submit did have a seal on them. I don't know where the seal is. We have an engineer that can seal plans. You just heard that what is required in those other 2 places was the same thing that being required of us. Here's the photographic evidence that that is not true. Absolutely not true. And these are developed parks being used.
Wahid, can you tell us what period of time those were developed at?
The one I gave you guys example, the one on Galveston that I worked on, that didn't get developed, so I don't know how could Mr. Zimmerman get photograph of that, because that was just entitled, and then they never developed it. No, city ultimately bought that for some retention or an open space park facility. But instead of going in the way I say, when I have a case, I can't compare it whether somebody else did or not. I have to look at this site.
Yes.
I have to go by that. That's one approach. The other thing I want to answer also, it's not whether a fire truck is coming and asking for a cul-de-sac and all that. Nothing will happen if Mr. Zimmerman doesn't develop and it's like that. Unfortunately, that's the way the standards are. The moment you ask for development, off-site improvement kicks in. Yes. And you know very well it's not by us. It's the city's standards. It's not just planning and zoning. So we don't have any control if he has an issue whether not to develop the off-site. He has to agree to develop the off-site, otherwise he won't be able to develop his site.
Is this other RV storage lot within the city of Mesa?
Yes.
Which side it is, Mrs. Zimmerman? Way back you showed me, and I thought that's in Gilbert.
These are the photographs.
But where is it located?
The location.
Which city is it in? If the boundary lines get down in there, get kind of...
It's east of Power, and it's north of Galveston. That's Mesa.
Is that Mesa?
North of Galveston is that Quick Trip gas station.
It's right behind there.
That was the zoning violation. You took the example during zoning violation. That was illegally going on, and that's why the case was code compliance case, yeah.
Of that picture that he just
Yes, yes.
So it's illegal,
Right, it was illegal.
still is.
If it is there, it's still illegal.
Still illegal.
But they went through a planning and zoning case.
What about the one north in,
It would help if we had a visual GPS to look at of all the
That's
things
true.
you're trying to
yeah,
describe.
I just took some pictures inside
Yeah, but
that
that
park.
doesn't do anything for me. I
Yeah.
can't, I don't.
I think
I appreciate that, thank you.
I think we've had enough discussion on this. Board members, I'd entertain a motion, however you wish this to go.
You want to? I'd be happy to make one. You know, listening, by the way, I kind of opened up this discussion for you. I guess I had to bring some closure to it. Mr. Zimmerman, I think there is a willingness to work with you, and I think I would suggest that you get back with staff and pursue some of these alternative ways. Unfortunately, there is a standard, and if you heard, it is black and white, and there's only so much that anyone can do. But pursuing some alternative, what can I say? Alternative zoning, help me out, John.
There's potential, again, between the Board of Adjustment with a variance or some overlays.
Some variances.
Those options and a few site plan modifications we can potentially continue to massage.
Because I know that I've been on that board too, and usually when you're looking at a short-term use, something like this, they are sympathetic, and I just share that with you. There are no promises.
No, I
But I do
understand that, and I
suggest-
appreciate your guidance and help.
But where we stand with what we have to work with, I see where the city's coming from, but I think their desire is to help you if you'll reach out and cooperate a little bit more, particularly going forward. So let's see. We are on, get my case number correct.
Z13-19.
Thank you. So anyway, it is I motion that we deny case Z13-19, 7013 East Warner Road as proposed.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, please cast your votes. Okay, passes for denial unanimously. That will be your next venue is up at City Council where they can actually make decisions on some of the things that you're having issues with.
Thank you very much.
All right, if there's no other cases and no other business, let's
I move
adjourn
to
for the
adjourn.
night. Okay, can I second?
Yes.